coming up. You see it now. Yeah. Man, I bought everybody the hollow table of Porto. I legitimately, like, I felt so bad. Everybody was so upset. I was like, yep, I hear. I know. We're good. All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Snowbirds Meeting Room. I am Voidwalker Joe. We got Zook Zimimi and Shadow Spectre 11.
Good to see you guys.
My camera is squared.
I see that.
I don't know why. Say hello to Brownie Bear. Say hello to Brownie Bear.
Yeah. Brownie Bear's our new esteemed guest. That's his name, Brownie Bear?
Yes. Mrs. Shadow named him.
All right. There we go. All right. I swear I'm going to get this right one day. One day. Maybe when Squadron 42 comes out, I'll finally be a decent host for the show.
Oh, I got to give you the new logo, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Give me that new logo, man. I do need that. All right, but yes, welcome to the Snowbirds Meeting Room. Today we're going to be talking about Port LSR, what's happening with it, going over the new jump point. There is a Q&A that is pretty interesting in there that I think is pretty good to go over, and we'll be talking about the 200 player cap that was recently tested in Evocati.
Oh, that was fun.
You talk like you were a part of it. I guess you kind of technically were to a point.
I felt like it.
You definitely felt like it. You were put within the first-hand experience. There was a 5-hour video that was leaked of the entire event. So Zook is the only one that managed to get through it. So he will be sharing his thoughts into it. But we will wait a second to get into the ISC here about Port LSR. And until then, why don't you give us your thoughts on the 200 player cap? And before you start talking about that, I will go over kind of like the phases of like what CIG wanted for the player cap.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
So their phase 1 was to spawn in, involve players to loading into Orson, holding in the zone without leaving or purchasing items. 30 minutes after players start joining, we will be taking client and server captures of the location. Phase 2 involves going to the R&R station, which is Crew L1, spawning ships. They say fewer the ships, the better at this stage for the sake of time and spawn limitations for a single LZ. 30 minutes after players start joining, we'll be taking client and server captures of this location. Phase 3, planet side. Once the go-ahead is given, fly to Daymar, move down to Area 141 on the surface. 30 minutes after players arrive, taking client server captures of that location. Phase 4 is combat. Players will be advised to spread out and fly to Grimhex or Port Olisar and land. This is going to be a bit of a cluster. Everybody spawn their own ships. Please do not edit loadouts. Leave the hangar pads. Meet just outside of Grimhex and prepare for a space battle. And then phase 5 is to split up. Right after the battle, players that are slain will have free reign to fly to whatever random locations. About 30 minutes after the spreading begins, which I don't like the wording of that. We'll take more server captures. And so it was seemed like it's been a really good playtest. But that is essentially the summarization of all 5 phases. But go ahead, Zook. You watched the whole thing, so tell us your impressions of it.
It was very, very slow. When they go to this station or do activity X, Y, or Z, it literally meant all those 200 players would do that activity. As you can probably expect, it takes a while to load up an 890. It takes a little while to load up a ship. It takes a little while to wait for your hangar. But once it was quote-unquote your turn, it was relatively stable. Ships at a respectable rate. Whenever you show them getting geared up, items applied to your gear at a decent amount of speed. There were a lot of desync. It was a metric F ton of desync. But I would say it would be very much comparable to how, say, 18.2 was as far as like player desync, or 19.1. So it wasn't a drastic increase in player desync. We really didn't see PC activities aside from a random ship that just happened to be in space. And we really didn't see much in the way of ship loadout management and seeing how fast that connects, obviously, because they specifically asked us not to do that. But 70 FPS was fine. Responses were fine. It honestly looked like a regular server to me, just with better frame rate. And a lot more desync just because there's that many people. And I don't think there's any way you could avoid doing that. Because essentially, I don't think they had it region locked. I don't think there was like a North America Evocati, and then an Asia, and then a Europe Evocati.
Yeah.
I think they were just wherever they happen to be in.
So from the details that was given based off of the pipeline, they said that there was only 3 shards up.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I think it was 3 shards because, yeah, I think the hope was they wanted to have 1 set up to do it, and if they got more, great. So like 1 had the testing stuff done, and basically overflow got thrown into the other 2 shards for that didn't have logging. Try to get a figure out. So when a server spun up, they can either spin it up, or they can spin it up with what's called logging, to log, take screenshots as they were talking about of the server as it's being ran. The other 2, other than the main one, didn't have that standing. And that's always going to have some detrimental effects when you have logging. It's going to impact performance. to a large degree.
It seems like whatever, if CIG is gonna have anything running, any sort of program or software running in the background that does anything with the server, it seems like that server in particular runs really bad.
Yeah, it's like, imagine having a computer that's having a real-time backup while you're using it.
Yeah.
Everyone's seen the performance hit that, say, Google Drive or Microsoft OneDrive or any of these cloud sync programs do, and that's a relatively small amount of data on a relatively low time frame. They usually only 10 minutes or so. Logging does that like every second, right? It's real time collecting the stuff, as you're going. So it's going to have a significant detrimental effect on it. Now, I don't know if the one that got leaked was on the logging server or not. My guess is probably that it wasn't. But in my opinion, it really shows that the detrimental effects, the issues we're having, is very much a back-end issue and not a player connected to server issue. I think the replication layer that they're trying to put in and moving the database to sort of a separate server is really showing the fact that that's the way to go. It's encouraging. I thought this was very encouraging. Like even towards the end, wherever you saw him just driving around on Microtech it was relatively smooth. Now he was by himself. When he was flying, it was relatively smooth. When he was walking around the ship, again, he walked very slowly, but it was relatively smooth. The biggest issue, consistently across the board, was just desync.
Yeah, it's crazy, the amount of people that they can add, and I didn't expect this to go well at all, and I think considering all the issues that was going on, I think that's probably the best that CIG could probably hope for in testing 200 people like that.
Like my theory, and this is just a theory. I don't have any information that would say this is true. But my theory is they wanted to test what a server population would do, how it would feel like if the database replication layer piece of it was detached, which is what their ultimate goal is, right? Their ultimate goal is replication layer running on a completely separate physical server and database management being ran on a different server. And right now it's not. It's a lot better than it used to be, but it's not.
Mm-hmm.
What essentially they did is they said, don't edit your ships, don't edit your loadouts, don't buy things, don't do, other than like food and water because you're going to starve, right? Don't do these things at all. Minimize as much as you can these items, which would be that replication layer, that inventory management on the back end. So even though there's 200 players, there's very little of that going on. So it ran smooth. And that goes to show you how much of our server is being bogged down with that item management.
Yeah. So what do you think? Do you think that we could see another player cap increase this year at some point? And do you think we should have one?
I doubt it. I think it would be nice if they could figure it out. But the biggest thing is they would have to detach that item inventory. And so either one of two things happen. One of two things happen. Either they have found another technology that they want to add to the servers live at some point in time, and that is being tested here. In which case, if that's what's being tested, I think we could. I think what's more than likely happening here is they wanted to test what the server would act like completely separated from that replication layer. So I don't think we're going to see one. I think the most likely outcome is they're testing it for server meshing. I think this test was necessary for their development and how they want to operate server meshing. What can a server do when server meshing is complete? How much can a server handle when server meshing is complete?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think what we're likely to see is I could see them wanting to do something similar, an API test with, say, 300-400 players on a single server with probably similar conditions. You know, what's the server frame rate for that? And I think that would confirm my theory, but who knows? We don't really know for sure.
Yeah, I think this playtest was pretty huge for CIG and being able to better understand how things work, kind of like what you were saying. So I hope they got what they needed out of it. I hope it really helped them. So yeah, I think it's super interesting. I'm glad somebody here actually watched it. But yeah, that's awesome. I'm actually really happy about the playtest.
Oh, well, there's nothing I want to point out. Whenever they were landing on Daymar, a lot of the ships that were moving, the ship-to-ship desync wasn't near as bad as the on-ground FPS desync, right?
Okay.
And another thing that I noticed was they still haven't fixed the state of the ship bug, where to you, my Corsair or your Corsair's landing gear's down, and the wings are up, but to me, your Corsair is laying on their wing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that hasn't been fixed. Like it's little things like that for me that made it feel like this is the 19.1 server with slightly worse desync.
Yeah.
Right? And that's encouraging, to be fair.
Yeah, that not much has really changed, considering.
As far as the experience is concerned, yeah.
Yeah.
You double the player count and not much changes the experience.
Yeah.
That's pretty drastic. That's pretty huge.
Yeah. And it
was
playable.
Yeah. I think it came with a caveat, right? Of, well, but they're not editing this and they're not managing inventory, they're not doing this. And I think that was the point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's encouraging when that patch, with that one playtest was better than the 3.18 patch when it came out. I think that's saying something. Like that's actually pretty good. But yeah, I'm really happy about that. I'm glad they did that test. So that was very interesting to kind of like be on the sidelines and get some of those leaks on what's going on. I will read kind of like what was said by Pipeline about other people's experience with it and what they had to say. It said 3 shards were up, 200 people on each. One of those had additional tracking. That was also that was also the only one that had a 30K, by the way. The tracking server was the only one that had a 30K, considering out of hours.
That 30K could be caused by a bug in the tracking software.
It could be. Yeah, that's why it's a big deal. Like the fact that's really, really good. That's another positive. It says which happened because of tracking, not because of population. Server FPS was a decent constant 20. Desync was present as expected. Some ships were invisible. Performance in general was very good. And then another separate report was basically going against, stating that the server FPS fluctuated massively. There were huge delays on all controls, 5 to 10 seconds. Dying would result in a blank screen, with the only way to fix it being a relog. In Orson, transport shuttles failed to load in for minutes, and even then station walls and floors would not load. Collisions were fine.
Joe, are you buffering?
No, it looks good on my end.
It's buffering for me.
Try to close out of it and then bring up the stream again.
Yeah, it looks fine for me.
Yeah, because it's showing pretty good with me. It might be your internet.
There it goes.
So this second account here, the assumptions are that these bad experiences came from the server that had tracking active on it, but it's not confirmed. But those are the two different reports that were said about it. So that's interesting too. Also, along with this test, I've noticed that there were a lot of people on Reddit that were making posts that they were excited because they got into Evocati, and they were kind of explaining that they don't really do much within Star Citizen, and they were still getting the invite into Evocati for this playtest. So if anybody out there, thinks that they don't really meet the requirements to become Evocati because they don't report things all the time, that kind of thing, or on Spectrum a lot, it kind of looks like that they don't care to a point. That I think if they're desperate enough, they need enough testers, they'll probably send you an invite. So always be on the lookout if you're interested in Evocati, at least keep a lookout in your emails, because I know I talked to Shadow about this. I told him to look at his email.
I jumped on it and didn't get it. No.
Yeah, I didn't get one either. But but yeah, a lot of people that don't really play much or report things managed to get into Evocati. So there were a lot of people excited. So it looks like in total they got 600 people off of 3 servers, or 3 shards. So yeah, pretty cool. So moving on from the 200 player cap, let's talk about the new Fury real quick. So in the jump point, all the way down at the bottom here, if I can get there, right here, you can see the Fury LX. Can't really see much, but it says coming this summer, so sometime soon. So what do you guys' thoughts on the Fury? I mean, it's kind of cut and dry, right? It has the LX moniker with it, so
racing ship.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a luxury racing, because that's when you look at the Mirai Razor LX, that's also a Razor, or it's also a luxury racer. So yeah, it'll be interesting to have. There's some people that are saying, I want to ask you guys, people are hoping that this has a quantum drive. I've seen that sentiment being shared around pretty heavily. Now, my thoughts on it, if they even managed to throw a quantum drive on it, I personally think people would get upset. Because if you can throw a quantum drive on this one, why not throw them on the others?
Well, it depends. Here's the thing. I want to push back on that one for a bit.
Okay.
Let's say you have one that has a quantum drive. What would it cost to do so on a platform that's... What happens if, say, it had to sacrifice its shields?
Well, it would probably have to be bigger, and it probably wouldn't be able to fit in the same thing.
No, same profile, right?
Well,
what happens if
they already said that they can't fit it in that profile?
I know they can't fit it in that profile. You're absolutely right. What happens if the slot where the show generator is no longer a show generator, and they put a quantum drive in that spot? So literally, the thing would have no shields.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
What could you do with that?
That's a good
Would
point.
that be a viable option? There physically is no shields slot on this thing, but you have a quantum drive. Right? What could you do with that? That would be incredibly fun to play with. Like a personal insertion ship for ground ops. It doesn't have enough, quantum engine power, so it really can't use weapons. It can't use anything but ballistics. While quantuming, if the room where that could exist, it would be size 1 ballistics with quantum. It's not going to be a fighter. It's not going to stay a friendly. There's no place to really store ammo. Maybe you could have laser weapons if you turn the quantum drive off. Otherwise, it would overheat it. But I don't think they're to the point where they can actually make that trade-off in game. They haven't developed the systems yet. So while I don't think it's going to have a quantum drive, I think it's most likely just a simple racer. I think it would be a really cool version of a Fury if it was like a stealth Fury where it doesn't have a shield generator. That spot is being taken up by quantum drive.
Yeah.
And that quantum drive is using so much power, and the coolers because the quantum drive is using so much power, right, that it just can't have weapons. Even then, the quantum fuel tank for it would be very, very, very small. Like, for example, you could take out one of the coolers. Instead of having 2 coolers, you just have one. And that one cooler isn't enough to do the quantum drive and the weapons. It's just enough to do one of those things. So it has to strip the weapons. But you have a very small quantum tank where you can maybe take a couple hops in between moons before it's empty. Right? And then no shields. So basically you're not going to be fighting anything.
Mm-hmm.
You're literally just almost a personal drop pod, but without the fact that it crashes to release you.
Yeah.
I think that would be incredibly cool.
I can get behind that for sure. What are your thoughts, Shadow?
I think it would be a cool little racing ship.
What would you want out of it?
But like you say, if they put a quantum drive in it, there's no room. Something has to go.
Yep.
And if they want to keep the frame the same and put a size 1 in there, definitely it's going to lose something. And like you say, the shield generator, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it's a racer, so it really doesn't need shields.
No. No.
So it would be a cool little ship to have just for racing. But like I say, I would love to fly it, see what it's like, see what the speed on it is and the performance, and take it to inside Arena Commander, the new Arena Commander, and run it through the racing. That would be cool.
I could pretty much guarantee the speed on that thing, if it's a racer, which we're assuming it is going to be 1325, 1350 or higher. It's going to be incredibly fast.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. And now, something goes along with this new Fury and the theories of it being a racer. Now you can kind of before we get into it, I can kind of see like over here, you can kind of see like there's still something there. Like you could still see kind of like the shadows of maybe like some I can't tell if that's the wing or if like the weapons that they have attached to the wings. I'm not sure, but there is something there. But what I wanted to point out was they have a new mode in experimental modes, which they highlight here, which would suggest that it's a racer probably. I would think at least. Unless it's not just a racing mode. But right here, you could see
did this trigger you, Void?
No, it didn't trigger me. Why would you think it triggered me? Oh, you
I
talking
don't
about
know.
the
It's
name?
commentary
Oh, you
made
talking about the
best.
name?
Yeah, the name.
Oh, yeah, I think the name's dumb. But right here underneath experimental modes, not only can you see master modes right here. Hopefully you guys can see that.
Yeah.
But right here, Too Fury, Too Furious. So either that's like a all out brawl between Furies, or this is some sort of like weird race mode. You know, for the Furies, we're gonna have to see what they say about that. But that's a little
I
interesting.
hope it's a race mode.
Yeah, yeah. I'd be happy with either or both. So, I could expect that, you know, why would this be a racing mode though specifically if they have the other racing maps? Like you could just pick the Furies. You could just pick all Furies for one of the other racing maps. So why?
Maybe because they want to know what racing will be like when you're racing in the map.
Yeah.
Most of the racing modes are essentially time trials.
Mm-hmm.
Right? What happens if you put multiple Furies in the same server racing at the same time? Where you actually have a race to the finish? What happens if they open fire?
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be like Mario Kart, but with Furies.
Oh my god.
Because generally speaking, in the past, you're just time trialing it, right? So, person with the fastest time trial wins. What happens if you're having to fly not just for maneuverability, but for dodging or for getting shots on target? What does that do to the race? Does that slow it down? Does that speed it up?
Mm-hmm.
Do you go for extra speed at the cost of making it easier to track? What do you do? And I think that's sort of I think that would be cool if that was what it was.
I think it'd be cool too. I would definitely get in there and play some more of that. So
I can't wait to get into this Arena Commander. I'm just gonna say
I'm excited too. We just need it to work well.
Yes.
I'm not expecting it to be perfect, but it needs to work well enough to where it's a feasible thing for people to get in there and play.
Yeah.
Because if it's anything like it is now, it's kind of a mess.
What it is? Well, I mean, right now, trying to get a ship is, it's horrible. You know?
Yeah, it is.
I mean,
and then just the map alone, what map? I think it's Dying Star. I think that was the one.
Oh, where it tanks out your frames.
Oh yeah, that one's bad. Yeah, at least for me, it's bad.
Well, the Dying Star isn't near as bad as it used to be.
We got a question.
Yeah.
You guys think this will be part of Foundation Festival?
And are you talking about the Fury, or are you talking about the new Arena Commander?
The Fury. Because Foundation Festival started yesterday. They just haven't announced
No, I don't think so.
No.
Well, here's the
no,
thing.
I think the Foundation Festival starts the 6th.
Here's the thing. They're going on high. So ISC and the live show is going on hiatus. So they won't be able to showcase any ships. They're just gonna have to put it on the, like if they were to release the new Fury, it's just gonna be put on the website. Bam, that's it. And not many people would really know about it. Nobody would really think.
Do you really think it would have been a good idea to spend even a significant portion of an ISC to showcase a racing variant?
No, but it would be part of it. That's how it always is. They save 3 to 5 minutes just talking about a new ship, and the rest would be about something else.
That would be a horrific idea. That'd be a bad idea.
A whole episode dedicated to
a variant.
Yeah, no,
they've already had.
It's a waste.
They've already had an episode. Sure. Yeah, they already had an episode that were dedicated to that were partially dedicated to the Fury, right? And all the variant we already got.
Yeah.
Right. If they had another episode where even or a third of it, which is what you're suggesting, was dedicated to a variant of the ship, that would have been a huge waste, and that would, for me, that would speak more to the fact that they have nothing to say on other topics, as opposed to the specialness of this item.
I think
Right.
if they do it, it'll be a very, very short segment.
So I'm kind of changing my thoughts on when the new patch is going to be released. Based off of wording from CIG. Now, I can't remember specifically exactly when they said some of this. God, I look at too much shit to, and I can't remember specifically
you
when.
think it'll be earlier or later?
I think 320 will come out sooner rather than later. I think 320 will be still slated for its normal release window. Not necessarily. I don't think it'll be back in. I think it'll be closer to now rather than closer to CitizenCon. And
so
I think
that
late August, early September.
Yes, that's what I think. And I think that that's when we're supposed to be getting the new Arena Commander. And I think they're gonna have an episode of ISC probably dedicated to the new Fury, and also they're going to be talking about the experimental modes probably. Well, they'll probably talk more about master modes and this 2 Fury, 2 Furious along with the new Fury, because I think the new Fury has to do with this mode right here. So that would make sense if they were releasing it with 320, along with having the IEC explaining like what this mode is and why we have a new Fury variant. I think that would probably make more sense to me.
Well, 3 weeks, so they would have to. I think they would drop it. They would show the ISC before it drops. It could be in the following week, but I think if they're going to show it, I think it's a week before it drops.
They've done both where they've done it a little bit before it comes out, like a ship comes out, and then also right after, if not the same day, depending. So it could be either or, but
I would actually, I'll have to disagree with you on that one, Void. I think don't expect 3.20 until probably September.
I only say that because their tone with 320 was that what they said. Now, don't quote me on this, but they said something along the lines of there being another patch for around CitizenCon time, like at the Q4. There's going to be a whole nother.
Well, here's the thing: because here's the thing, if you have a patch 3.20 comes out late September, technically that's still Q3, and that's historically how CIG is operated. Your Q1 patch does not come out January 1st. Your Q1 patch comes out at the end of March, right? And if 3.20 comes out at the end of September, which would be Q3, that would only be 2-3 weeks away before CitizenCon.
Yeah.
Right? Because CitizenCon is right at the start of Q4. So, as far as the likelihood of this, I would say there's some validity to what you're saying, but I would still say it's a kind of a long shot. I would love it if you're right. I would love it if I was wrong. But I don't think that's going to be the case here for a couple of different things. There's still a lot of things that are still left as tentative. We haven't even gotten something in Ivacati as far as this particular patch is concerned. In Ivacati, they're working on, as we said, the player test, which I think is server meshing. So we don't even have a 3.20 Ivacati yet. And in between Ivacati to going live is usually at weeks, 4 to 6 weeks, usually longer, right? Because it still has to go through all the rest of the PTU waves.
Yeah.
So for me, at best right now, August.
Okay.
More likely September. So it's although I will say this much. The idea of including the new Fury, in with a deep dive into like the versions master modes
Mhm.
and the new version of Arena Commander, where it also mentioned this new racing or potential racing mode, the two Furies, Two Furious,
Mhm.
whatever. That I could see them doing. I could see them doing an entire episode on that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I do too. So, yeah, my whole theory there was just me trying to read the tea leaves. That is, Star Citizen coming out and changing their tone on different things. So, just trying to interpret it. So, yeah. So other than that, they have a Q&A here about that I think is kind of important to kind of go over about Arena Commander and where it's been and where it's going. They say Arena Commander, one of the questions, Arena Commander has been around for years. Why update it now? While it may seem we're only just now updating Arena Commander and Star Marine, I personally began my refactors of all the underlying systems behind them almost 5 years ago when Firesprite came on board. You will have seen increased stability and some new systems come out online here and there over the years, but no substantial changes. In that time, Firesprite revamped the first-person maps, Echo 11, OP Station Damien, and Damien Comms, and added the Good Doctor as well as visually reworking Broken Moon and Dying Star. When Arena Commander feature team was formed, we had many discussions on where we wanted to take the team. We could have easily picked up the same flow, but in the end, we had a hard look at the module as a whole and came up with a 3-stage revitalization plan to evaluate Arena Commander to the potential we know it has. What are the main goals for the update of 320? 320 sees the finalization of Stage 1, which we've dubbed the laying the foundation. As a team, we have great ambitions and many numbers of things we want to do. But before we do any of that, the first step is just taking some of the time to lay the foundations and set Arena Commander up for success by finishing the refactors. We officially started Stage 1 back in Q3 of 2022. Most refactors were mostly complete. Remained were really time-consuming ones, including a complete rewrite of the front end and lobby systems, spawning modules, UI, and scoring system. Let's see. Stage 1's content includes experimental modes. What is this and what's the aim? Experimental modes is the solution to a collection of problems we have with Arena Commander, one being that we want to bring the module back to its roots as a testing ground for features intended for the PU, or Squadron 42. A way to collect data before the full release of features and action feedback sooner rather than later. We also realized that we would be spreading our player base thin with so many game modes. Experimental modes is our solution to these problems and more, as it allows us to deliver regular content for a limited time, rotating through a patch cycle. Okay, so this is something that they didn't really explain before. If something does not work, that's all right. We have streamlined the map mode creation process, so there's little lost, but vital information is gained. If something is an immense success and players cannot get enough of it, fantastic. We may promote it to a permanent game mode. Let's see. I think we can... All right, I'll read this one. What experimental game types are you hoping to trial in the future? We have so many ideas. I would fill the magazine listing just a fraction of them all. Quite a few of the Arena Commander feature team came from modding background. So the concept of experimental modes is something we are deeply passionate about. Gun Rush is a personal favorite of mine, but I am looking forward to exploring more out-of-the-box ideas such as asymmetrical modes like Infection. Now, what would Infection look like? That's kind of interesting. Or modes inspired by community events like breaching ships. That would be really cool too. Some of the new racing locations are taken from PU is community delivered tracks. What was the process? Okay, we don't need to go over that. Stage 1 is approaching release. What are you working on for stage 2, and when is it planned for delivery? We are not quite ready to reveal what is involved in stage 2. Even half of its name must be kept in secret a little longer, but I will give you the first half. It says Bug Smash and Redacted. So do you guys know about the old Star Citizen show that they used to have called Bug Smashers?
No, but I've heard of it.
Vaguely aware of it. I've only seen one or two.
Yeah, same here. I've only seen a couple of them, but it seems like what they did was they would just go over and fix bugs, or not fix bugs, but show you how they fix bugs and what are the reasons for some of the bugs out there. Which I think would be a good show, by the way, because that would kind of show people the reasons for, like, why are the elevators not working? You know?
Yeah.
Like, explain that to people so that way people can kind of calm down a little bit, you know? Because half the posts on Reddit are people going like, why is this still broken? I don't get it. And they're like, all you got to do is recode this. You got to do that. Listen, just trust me. I have done this. I worked on a game before. I know how it works. And they go on a long rant and like why elevators should be working. But what do you guys think this is here for this stage 2 for Arena Commander, Bug Smash and Redacted? I wonder if that may be a mode. Like, the only thing that comes to mind is maybe like it's a mode on where they would focus on bugs somehow.
I don't know.
No idea.
Well, I want to say two things. One, I don't really know what that would be. I can't even guess, and it's probably because we don't know what's going to be coming out with it. So I don't think we will have the ability to even answer that question. The second thing I want to say is I think it is nice the fact that they're keeping these in the experimental mode sort of playlist, if you will.
Yeah.
Because I remember when they first mentioned this, I was very worried that Arena Commander would be on essentially a different path than the live.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like most of Arena Commander is not going to be. But this one little playlist, this playground, is essentially the development team saying, hey, we need something tested on a mass scale, and we need it tested now.
Mm-hmm.
So they put out a patch, put it into the Arena Commander in the experimental modes, and there you go. You have your mass scale testing. Bypassing PTU, bypassing Evocati, they need mass scale. Right?
Right.
And if you notice a theme here, more and more of what we're seeing them needing testing is coming out to be a more of a mass scale test. We're not just testing a game loop, we're testing how stable it is. You saw 18.0 come out, right? In PTU, it was fine. In mass scale, it was absolute trash. It was a dumpster fire.
Yeah.
See them doing server testing now, right? What are they looking for? They're looking for mass scale server testing. You're seeing them in Arena Commander now. What are they looking for? They're looking for, this gun being fired 1 billion times as much as they can at each other.
Yeah.
Right? So that feels like, to me, they're wanting to do mass testing, but in an environment that's not the PTU or the Squadron 42 campaign. They wanted to do weapon balance. What it feels like to me.
Yeah.
And that weapon balance could be weapon balances for ship weapons. The balance could be personal, FPS balancing. It could be, ship balancing. Who knows?
Yeah.
And the fact that they're wanting to bring master modes to us in this mode as well as one of those modes, super encouraging.
Yeah, I agree. They continue on by saying a large part of stage 2 is bug smashing. When Arena Commander feature team was formed, it inherited thousands of bugs related to the simulation mode. And within this phase, we plan to get through all of them. Among these is addressing player feedback and all of the quality of life issues we have identified over the years, from fixing long-standing issues with some of the older game modes to finishing the conversion of all our UI to building blocks. The aim is to make Arena Commander even more stable than it already is. Well, you definitely have to if you want people to test things.
Right.
Throughout Stage 2, which will be spread across at least 2 quarters, we will continue to build upon the foundations we laid with Stage 1, expanding the spawn screens, delivering more experimental modes, converting more PU locations, and more. We will give more information as soon as we're ready. Okay. And then next question, long term, can you give us a hint about Stage 3? Stage 3, we hope Arena Commander is in a great place with its major problems solved. It being a high-performance, low-issue module of the game. We have dubbed Stage 3 content. I hope so. I really hope so. That sounds good. After completing all the work in Stages 1 and 2 to unlock Arena Commander's potential, it will be time for us to take advantage of all of it and focus on delivering regular content. That seems like it's a little ways in the future, but yeah.
I want to point out something real quick, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
The amount of stuff that they made for Arena Commander in a short time period, even new stuff, truly new stuff,
Yeah.
right?
Since only last year.
Only last year, right? Exactly. Or even, well, since the end of last year, when they actually started implementing racing.
Yeah.
Because racing came in 17.4 or 17.5. I forget which one exactly.
4.
Yeah. So that was like towards the, just a year ago. So the amount of content that they've made, the amount of stuff that they've added to it, and the amount of expansion that they've done for this thing, assuming it works and assuming it's mostly stable, because again, it's not live yet, so we don't know. That tells me that the process of making these assets, environments, are really smoothed out at this point in time. Assuming they're telling the truth here, what used to take them 6 months, 3 months to build a single racing map, right? With no atmosphere and all that other fun jazz, is taking them no time. Because again, most teams are still working on Squadron 42. So even the team working on Arena is going to be a comparatively a skeleton crew.
Yeah.
Just the amount of content that's coming out now is also encouraging.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, everybody working on Star Citizen, that in itself is a skeleton crew. Yeah, that's why things aren't going the way we want them to go. So yeah, we want Squadron out sooner rather than later, so that way they can move everybody over and we finally get what we've been wanting. Next question. After stage... Now, this question, I don't know why they asked it, because I would think stage 3 kind of encompasses a larger kind of like area after that, but it says, after stage 3, will Arena Commander continue to be supported, which with for example, new tracks, maps, and game types? They've displayed that was the goal. Although Arena Commander 1.5 is just an internal game or internal name, it is very deliberately named so. Oh, deliberately named so. Okay, I can't read. We have a plan for Arena Commander 2.0 created years ago, but for that vision to be realized, the time to execute 1.5's 3-stage plan must be taken. Arena Commander 2.0 is an incredibly large undertaking, and if we were to aim directly for it, it would be years before we could release updates, especially with how small our team was when we started this journey. Arena Commander 1.5 is our way of working towards 2.0 while continuing to deliver content to the players. Stage 3 is not where our work on Arena Commander ends. It is simply the point where we expect to be most comfortable with delivering regular content while also working towards the vision of Arena Commander 2.0. So that's exactly what I thought, or what I was expecting them to say. So, but that's good. That's good. That's exactly what we would want out of that situation. All right. So after that, we are on our last subject, which is we're going to go ahead and watch the Inside Star Citizen on the new Seraphim station, which replaces Port Olisar.
I'm going to go get some coffee while you start it up.
Okay.
Port Olisar was first introduced alongside the Persistent Universe in Star Citizen Alpha 2.0, and it holds a special place in the hearts of many who remember those earliest days of Tessa Bannister, comms array missions, and of course the old Big Benny's challenge. But as Star Citizen's development continues to expand and evolve life in the PU, Port Olisar has fallen behind in its ability to support the game systems of today, later this year, and certainly beyond. But now there's a new kid on the playground looking to take its role and its job, if not its place in our hearts. And it's scheduled to arrive in the upcoming Alpha 320.
The Rings of
Port Olisar
Death.
was our first space station that we put into.
So yeah, are you happy with the design?
Well, we're not really showing it yet, but generally speaking, yeah, I think the new design looks good. Or you're referring to Olisar itself?
I'm thinking of the new station.
The new station looks. I think it looks good.
Yeah.
I think it looks very impressive. I like the fact that they're doing so many different things with it. I like the fact that they're taking inspiration from the original Olisar and they're sort of like paying homage to it.
Yeah.
I have no problem with the new one whatsoever. It looks good.
It legitimately is, when you look at it, here, this is Port Olisar, but looking at Port Olisar and then when you look at the new Seraphim station, it really isn't that much different. They just take these pads out right here and push the rings out a little bit more. They'll add, like, they added the cargo center. And
the hangers are on arms that are at roughly the same location.
Mm-hmm.
It looks good.
Yeah.
Port Olisar was our first space station that we put into Star Citizen. It's gone through some minor changes, but for the most part, it's really stayed the same. Just a quick, easy, get in, get out space station. When it was first conceived, basically, it was really just a way for the players to spawn into the solar system. So we had to think about how many habitation halves went in there. We had to think about the stores that were needed, and then a way for players to spawn in their ships. I think that people like it just because it's get in, get out, you know, and there's that kind of feel. There's no transit loops. There's nothing there that basically extends the timeline and the gameplay. And for the most part, it has all the shops, the average.
See, and that's the big thing, is that they understand why we like Port Olisar, you know? So the fact that Port Olisar was so nice and just simple to where you can just wake up in the hab and go straight to your ship, essentially. And I know people were timing it on on Reddit. They were posting a lot of those their videos on like how long it takes from the get through Port Olisar versus like Port Tressler, for instance. And it was like, I think Port Tressler only added I think it was like another minute and a half, which isn't that bad. Like because I think Port Olisar, the quickest someone got out was probably a little bit less than a minute, but to wake up in a different station and to get to your ship, and it only taking I think the longest I saw was like 2.5 minutes. That's not that bad. Like, can you complain that it takes 2.5 minutes to get out of your bed and get your ship? You know, like quicker is always better, right? That it's always going to be like that. But I feel like you still can't really complain too much. You know, now you can complain because the elevators never work. That's a reason to complain. But yeah.
That was literally what I was about to say. You took the words right out of my mouth.
Yeah.
The only thing Port Olisar was missing was a med center.
Well, he was missing more than that.
Oh, it was missing. Yeah, it was missing all of that.
Yeah.
It was missing it was missing the ability to do large freight cargo. It was missing really any actual trading whatsoever.
Yeah,
it was missing a med center. It was missing a cargo deck. It was missing the expansion to build like Port Olisar as it was so incredibly out of date that we've known that this was going to happen for years now.
Yeah, but I mean, a med center is one of the most important things because that's a respawn point. And a lot of people hate going to Orison, you know, and respawn there.
Yeah.
The closest one is Crew L1.
Crew L1. If you don't want to do Grimax.
Yeah.
If you're going to respawn anywhere, you're going to want it to be a station. You know, you're never going to pick the planet unless that's what you really, really want. But most people, for you know, just getting in and out purposes, you would want a station.
Right. I mean, don't get me wrong. When I first got into the game, I was at Lorville, I was at Microtech, and then I based at Area 18. I barely go to Port Olisar, okay, unless I need fuel or something like that, or get something out of the shops real quick. I barely touch Orison unless I'm going there to buy ships or buy components or something like that, or to even go to do the platform missions.
Yeah.
You know? So a new station is cool to me. I'm excited for it. Just going to say.
I want to do a bit of pushback on that one because I actually use Port Olisar all the time. And this has nothing to do with it being in the game for a long period of time. The fact of the matter is, a landing pad, like even at regular stations, even at Port Tresler, unless I am specifically getting out of my ship to do something in particular, I'm still landing on that pad. They still have pads, right?
Yeah.
I'm still landing on those pads because they're quick, easy, in and out, like the video said, right? So when it comes time to actually using them, Port Olisar and a station that's mostly pads is incredibly useful, even without a med center, right? Yeah. Now, should the station that's orbiting directly above Orison need a med center, the cargo refractor, and need the cargo base? Yes, this change was needed. But just to throw away a station or the concept of a station that has nothing but pads, I think is a bit premature. Now,
yeah, absolutely.
What could you use this for? And this may be getting a little bit ahead of the video. I would love Port Olisar type stations to be around Moon. This is the station that would be around a moon or around deep. That would be around deep space. That would be.
That I can agree with.
It's a great basic rest stop. You know, has everything you need out in the middle of nowhere. You know, it's touch and go. Like, it's exactly what you would need somewhere else.
Like this type of station is a station that you might want to find for like a mining operation in the Halo belt.
Yeah.
Right. You know, that kind of thing where
it's a little mini mart gas station.
That's exactly. You're in the middle of nowhere. You're away from main centers of populations. You're just here to do this and move on and get out and get in and out really quickly. Mm-hmm. I could totally see that. And I I hope they bring back this as something similar. Even if it's not All-Star specifically, if it's the design, I'd want them to do something similar. I would consider it a huge waste if the only stations that a planetary system had was the main station above their main city.
Absolutely. Yeah. There are more reasons to have different types of stations.
I'm going to say this. I would love to have more styles of Port Olisar in areas.
Yes.
Because you're flying an arrow, right? An arrow can only go so far. And a quick drop to a pad to fill up and keep going, it's a great thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say that one thing I really want, and something I was really hoping that they would do, I really wanted this for a long time, is, and I don't know why they haven't done it yet. They might in the future, I don't know, but the open pads that they have for Olisar, I don't understand why they could still take that and put them on the modular stations that we have now. Like, you don't have to give us a lot, but give us a section extended out a little bit to have open pads just for refueling purposes. You know,
They do. They have that.
Do they right now? The stations that we have.
So one of the main key designs for every station in the verse right now is they have at least 4 pads.
Yeah.
That you can land on and refuel on. There's no docking privileges required. There's no requesting for landing. You just go up to the pad, touch down, refuel.
And they work right now.
The refueling mechanic works.
You can't store the ship from there.
Yeah. Well,
but they are currently functional.
Yes.
Yeah, they're functional. Yeah.
Oh wow. I somehow missed all that. So that's actually awesome. Okay, cool. All right, well.
I use them a lot. I use them a lot.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. Like, even on the regular pads that they have now, I still use those landing pads all the time for that purpose. Like, it's just much easier to. I'm not even requesting landing, coming in to do fuel repairing back out to the verse. Right. I come in there, land, let's go. And to get rid of Olisar, the biggest thing for Olisar for me was when the elevators were broken, when the game was buggy, I would always go to Olisar and use it as my base of operations. I would be extra careful and make sure I didn't die, because I don't want to have to deal with the respawn mechanic. So that would put me by an elevator. But I would be extra careful, and that's where I would go, because when the elevators were broken, firing systems were broken, it was far easier
to go.
Yeah, Olisar was the place to go, and it allowed me to be able to play the game in 18.0 when a lot of people just couldn't. And if I was at Tresler, I just couldn't.
Yep, it was the workaround.
Yeah.
Yeah. Vanish says, I was hoping Plus would have been a bit more customized, maybe a garden or a viewport, a large viewport.
Hoping Plus was customized? Oh, Port Olisar.
Yeah, Port Olisar, yeah.
Well, the new one's pretty customized. It's very customized, actually.
It seems like the outside of it has more of like a customized look to it, but the inside definitely seems like it's the same old modules that we have, just mixed into a different configuration. So that's the part that I'm personally like. I wish they would have went in and customized the inside a little bit to look more distinct than just like, I don't want to go in there and be like, yep, this looks like all the others. You know. So, but I mean, maybe they will in the future. I don't know.
Average person needs, armor shop, FPS shop. There's a ship item shop there as well. I think the initial implementation of Port Olisar, did everything that we needed it to do, checked all the boxes. But obviously, as the game has evolved and changed over time, like, we needed to adjust it. we've added medical gameplay, we've added cargo, and unfortunately, port LSR doesn't support any of those game loops, so it became apparent that we need to start investigating a way to change it or adjust it and bring it up to speed.
Now, I do want to ask you guys this real quick. Do you guys think it would have been possible for them to recreate Port LSR the way it is right now into the modular system? I think they would have to probably like recreate everything from scratch again for it to fit in that system. But do you think they could have turned it into its assets and put it into the modular system?
I think that's what they did.
You think so?
I think they said, look, the actual geometry, the actual space station, the way
the outside of
everything
it, yeah.
interacts, right? The way everything with that ship, the station works, it's not compatible with the modular system whatsoever. So they had to start from scratch, and they tried to make it as close to the original LSR as they could using the modular system. But with the understanding that this station had to do, X through Z, unlike what LSR had to do. So combination of it modular, the combination of requirements for modern stations and the gameplay requirements meant that essentially it was never going to look like LSR. It could look similar to LSR.
Similar, yeah. Yeah.
And that's what I think they did.
Okay.
Seraphim Station is the official name for what we've been calling OLSR 2.0 internally for quite a while now. What we initially set out to do is to create this really grand space station with a really fantastic sense of scale that players could have a really good time flying in and around and also to and from. So we had a really good time playing around with different design languages and shape languages that we could then use to come together for the final product. We were also working on lots of shape studies involving the silhouette of the station to make sure it was...
Back up a little bit to the silhouette. Yep. I mean, you can see right there, right? You have the hangars that are coming out of the main station.
Yeah.
Very similar to the pads used to be, right? You have the same format of the 3 rings. You have the same, concept, right? And even I think you have even one of the original rings, which are the smaller rings now.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're still there. I think that was roughly the same size as the old ring.
Yeah.
And you can tell the scale difference, right? You can tell the scale difference that they had to go to just make it functional. And like, for example, you can see
it looks a
now
lot
it has
larger.
The cargo section.
Yeah.
Yeah. It has the cargo section.
Cargo section.
Now it has
right
the
here.
capital ship docking zones. Yeah.
Right
That's
here.
the cargo section. Yep. Capital ship docking zones, and you have extra landing pads right there. You have the hangars now instead of just pads. Right? So I think that top section, you have the bottom side is the bottom middle, is the hangars right there.
Yeah, right here.
And then the top section, the top middle, I think those are pads.
Up in this direction?
No. The middle section towards the top, towards the black.
Like over here.
No.
Or over
No,
here.
no. The middle section. Now go up and left. Right there. I think
Right
those
here.
are pads.
Oh, you
Yeah.
think so? They almost look. They almost like this. This looks exactly the same as this to me.
Well, they look very, very similar. It's just instead of there being hangars, there's pads there.
Yeah, could be.
And that's the same way with Port Trezler. It has 2 hanger arms, 1 pad arm. It's functionally the same. It looks the same. It's just one has an enclosed atmosphere and one's an open to anyone to land on.
I wonder what these are right here. You can see these. They kind of extend out a little bit. They almost look like they could be pads, too. Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe.
Because I'm trying to think of like the pads where they're about to show the the law offices, the bounty hunter offices. I'm wondering if maybe it's in this area. They have this little, you could see this little module right here, right after the cargo. It's kind of covering it up a little bit, but this, usually that little C section right there, little C shape, that is usually where you land as well, where there'd be hangars all around that C shape. And you would go in and internally store your ship too.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell that it looks like LSR. It feels like LSR, just with the new hangars, ship and cargo. I mean,
yeah. And would you say these spherical sections here at the ends, that those are fuel pods? They're not like
I mean,
pods.
that's my impression, but
because liquid is usually stored in like cylindrical, barrels type of thing, or like I could see them storing fuel like this way.
Yeah.
But yeah,
agreed.
I'll go ahead and continue.
Make sure it was reminiscent of other stations, and also to bring our own unique spin on it.
Oh look, you can kind of see those a little bit better right here. I don't know, they almost look like pads. Kind of. On one side, I'm not sure.
Seraphin Station is a homage to Port LSR in the way that it looks. We're keeping the rings, and but then it's also taking all of the existing Leo Station gameplay and bringing that over to that station.
It's much larger and much more extravagant than anything that we've done before in terms of our space station kit. But this is utilizing the kit in the way that we haven't before, and it's created much more unique identity for it than anything else.
There's
I think
small hangers on the arm, like
I think the gameplay around it is going to be very cool. Specifically, just seeing it for the first time, approaching it.
I am happy with the way it looks.
There's multiple hangars, a few rooms all over the station, providing you with
don't forget to sell that whole seat
at the right time of day. Extremely large station, probably 4 to 5 times bigger than LSR. So we have everything that you could possibly need inside. It has various sets of hangars and habs in the center of the first 2 rings, and those are going to be where players are going to be landing their ships, collecting their ships, and the general gameplay that occurs over there. Then towards the back end of the ship, we have the cargo area, which is going to incorporate that gameplay as well. So this is how we sort of mixed and matched all of these together to create something a little bit more unique. We also have docking tubes and everything else that players could need to traverse along this big structure.
There's those big spheres.
Yep.
It has the medical clinic areas. It has cargo, everything there that's needed to support all of our careers that are being developed and growing.
The whole need for the station was that we're trying to have a focus on and introduce bounty gameplay into each station as much as we can. So each station also has a security dock integrated.
Oh, wait. It looks like they're landing right here.
Well, that's capital ship.
Actually, yeah.
So, okay. All right, think about this. When you guys go to Jericho Station, you land on these arms. It's the same configuration as those. So that's where they've been landing. So they're integrating.
So we're gonna land. We're gonna land for the bounty thing at the capital.
Yeah.
Docking zone.
And that's where the law offices are going to be too. Because normally on Jericho Station right here, you would walk into these little sides here. One of these sides, you would land, go in there, and there would be like the terminal, and the guy would be waiting for you, and you would deliver your cargo. For resupply, but maybe that's where they're going to have the law offices are at.
That's a good point, actually.
Rated into it as well. That is going to be where all of the
there we go.
Yep, that's it. That's it. You can see the other side of it.
Mm-hmm. You see him transporting his little cryopod there, his little bounty. He could have parked closer there. Look at him. He parked 3 pads away.
Well, here's an interesting thought process. This is making a big leap. It's making a big assumption. That pad or that area is generally very much off limits. You're trespassing. You have so long to get away from that area.
Yeah.
Because essentially it's like it's no different from like flying into a hangar that's not yours.
Right.
Kind of thing. It's no different. If you can just fly in there, land, and drop off cargo, either they have taken that zone and brought it in a lot tighter, so that you're only it only counts like the capital ship zone.
Yeah.
The capital ship comes into dock, or very similar to Korea, where you have to get like special permissions.
Yeah.
Or special reputation to go in there and land safely with their permission. What if this is the gameplay where you have to have a good reputation with the local faction to be able to land and drop off live bounties?
Yeah. I don't know if
Here's
we're
the
there
thing,
yet. It'd be great.
The gameplay's already implemented though. It's already in live.
I think minimum you would just ask for permission to land. Maybe bounty hunting would probably have its own system.
No, the pads, no matter where they're at, like even regular pads. At this point in time, the only pads that are left in the game where you have to request permission to land is Olisar. That's the only one. You have pads on outposts, the pads at stations, the pads on Jericho Station. There was never permission to land.
Okay.
It was just open to landing. The difference, what I'm saying right now, is because the see that these pads are at the capital ship zone. Right now, you don't have permission to go over there. You're trespassing. But it's not trespassing like at a station or at a outpost. It's trespassing like you're in the wrong hangar. Like you're not in the hangar you're supposed to be in.
Right. Yeah.
So either they brought it in tighter, which when you can easily land on these things now, right? You may not be able to get refuel or rearm on them, but you can leave without requesting permission. But it's also possible, I think would be cool if they set it up where you have to have a good reputation with the local faction to essentially deliver wanted fugitives at that station alive. Doesn't mean you can't go kill this person bounties. You have to have a good reputation to go take this man alive bounties.
Yeah, it makes sense. It would make sense.
That would be a cool gameplay and would justify, hey, this is more expensive. It's going to get paid out more. It's a much more challenging thing. And also you have to earn a reputation so that even though you're a live bounty hunter in, say, Microtech, doesn't necessarily mean you can do the same thing in Crusader.
Right. Yeah, we'll see. I wonder how far along they are with the new bounty hunting updates. This could just be a dramatization,
It could.
But
that's what I'm saying without making a leap.
I mean, it looks like, I don't know. They got a player actually pushing a cryopod, so the cryopod is at least done. I would think, or it's at least an asset in the game that they can move around. Maybe not functional yet. But I'm hoping that them. I know they were saying that this is them kind of just prepping the stations to get ready for bounty hunting gameplay, but I'm hoping that it's more complete than we think. I'm hoping, I know it might be a stretch, but I'm hoping maybe 320, but probably not.
Probably not.
So it will be the replacement, so to speak, for Olisar. Olisar is not going anywhere. We know what a historical thing.
You hear that? Port Olisar is not going anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
It is for the players.
We will pay proper homage to it later. And we were trying to find ways to basically send it off. Obviously, I think if we did a new space station and just renamed it Port Olisar, the old Port Olisar that they loved then just goes away completely. But basically, for right now, we need to remove it, and then we'll be putting in Seraphim Station in its place. and then in
It
the
is
future
going
we'll talk
somewhere.
about what
It's
we're
being
going to do
removed.
with Port Alisar.
It's being removed, but it sounds like he's saying that there. I mean, they do say it that it will be coming back in some way or shape or form.
Yes, there is some working plans for something to do with it later, but for now, it's going.
But I think the developer, he was just saying it's not technically going anywhere. It will be back.
Hope so.
So the way that we set up our Leo stations, all of them are future-proofed and allow us to add new modules to them via our internal transit loop and the way that we
Go ahead and
set
pause
up.
it real quick. Go back real quick. Okay, so I'll show you an example of what I'm talking about as far as the pads go. You see the 4 hangers along the line of this station?
Yeah, right here.
Right? If you follow that same spine just a little bit, halfway towards the circle,
Yeah,
you'll see 4 really small. Those
Right.
are landing pads.
right here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
okay. Yeah,
So
I never
they're
pay
not
attention
obvious.
to those. Yeah, they're not
Yeah,
obvious at all.
they're not obvious, but they're there, and you don't have to request permission to land.
Right.
Each one of the stations has those small bumps.
All right, good.
So that's what I was saying. In the picture of Seraphim Station, there were some small bumps up towards that look like pads.
Right.
But I can be wrong.
And then here, you can see again. That's exactly
the Capitol
where
Docks.
that's where they're gonna have the law offices and everything.
Set up the object containers within the game and load, and this is also becoming future-proof for when we add
pause
new
again?
things.
And this is for Hurston. It's
My bad. Hold on. There we go.
so this is for Hurston. The pads. So if you see that there's the main cargo deck. If you look at the 2 outcroppings that are near the cargo deck, where the hangars are, the big lumps that are sticking out.
Oh, right
One of the
here?
4 corners. No. Coming out of the main circle.
Oh, right here.
No. The main circle.
This
And
is
then
the
there's
main
the
circle.
4, the main hub circle.
Yeah.
The thick one.
Yeah,
The
this
thick one.
this one.
Yeah. Now you have the 4 pipes that come out of the
Right.
right, and those are hangers.
Right.
Right. If you look at that same pipe, there's a small bump just on the inside of the hangers. Those are pads
Right here.
on each one of them.
Right. Okay.
For
So
when we
that's
add new
that's
things
that's Everest Harbor.
Right.
To the station. Port Alisar, it was so small. There was no place to add or grow, and there was no transit loops so that we can fill and block off or open new loops to get to new areas. And with Seraphim, this allows us to continue that same thought process and to get everything that we need to give to the player in that area, either things that Ryzen is missing or things that Grimp Hex might be missing. This allows us to basically make sure that the player has a local area and a local space station to acquire anything that they might need. So as new careers come online, whether that be bounty hunter or exploration or other things, this opens new ways for us to actually go in and add new decks, new content. So Seraphim actually fixes all of that. The whole sea is coming, and with the cargo decks and the gameplay that we needed to load the whole sea, we felt that this was the right time to introduce it to the game.
I don't think you can say it's better station than Port Olisar. I think like Port Olisar has become a monument to the players, and it's got its own value. That I think we try to honor that as much as possible. And I think we try to create our own take on that as much as possible. So I like to think that we ended up saying that we were all very happy with. I wouldn't say it is better than Olisar, no.
For marketing purposes, it's better.
For marketing purposes, it's absolutely 100% 3 times better than Olisar, statistically.
So, what did we learn this week? Well, we learned that Port Olisar's days are
Not
numbered
much.
when that new hotness, Seraphim Station, comes online in the upcoming Alpha 320. That it'll be home to all the present-day amenities and capabilities current
Yes,
space
Phenom.
stations have to offer.
320.
And of course, be better set up for future developments, cargo, bounty hunting, and all the other commercial and industrial gameplay systems that'll continue to evolve in subsequent patches later this year.
See, there you go.
We also want to get
You see that subsequent patches later on this year? That's after 320.
Well, that could have been 3.20.1.
Yeah.
to some massive bar citizens that have happened over the last 2 weeks, including those near each studio in Los Angeles.
There's me right here.
I see you. I saw you.
We're officially on the loop. You have been to Bar Citizen. You have been to ISC. You've been to Salty Mike, and now you're back on your own show.
Yep.
Congratulations.
Yep. Gone full circle. The group of people. There's Virago. He's in your org there, Shadow. Met him.
Oh, okay.
I don't see the other guy anywhere. I think the other guy got cut off. I was also with him.
Mm-hmm.
I'll keep him anonymous for now. But yeah.
Austin, Montreal, Manchester, Frankfurt, as well as some absolutely enormous ones in Shanghai with roughly 1,500
Oh
people.
God, that's Citizen
followed
Con
by
right there.
Hong Kong, and if I'm not mistaken, Incheon, South Korea coming up this Saturday, Paris the Saturday after that, and then of course, my absolute favorite each and every year, Cologne, Germany for Gamescom. It's a terrific way to celebrate a birthday, I can promise you that. And while we're talking celebrations, CitizenCon, the big live in-person event, is returning after a 4-year hiatus this year with a 2-day event in my hometown
4
of Los
years.
Angeles. It's your chance to meet your favorite developers and fellow citizens in person and pitch which ship you think should be made next directly to John Cruz's face. Or even how you think a particular gameplay system should work directly into Todd Pappy's eyes. They're not allowed to leave.
We're gonna have to do
They
that.
legally have to stand there and listen. General tickets are on sale today, and you can check the website for details on the when and the what for. And as for me, it's that time of year where ISC goes on hiatus. We're going to take a few weeks to recharge some batteries, give the devs a break from having to fake appendicitis every time they see me coming, and plot out the next quarter's worth of weekly content. If you've been around for a while, you know what Q3 heading into CitizenCon is like. For Inside Star Citizen, I'm Jared Huckabee. Thanks for letting us share the process of game development with you. And we'll see you all here in about a month.
I will say this much. As much as I didn't like this episode for lack of content, I think Jared does a really good job.
Yeah,
Port
I
Olisar.
definitely enjoy it.
I agree. I love Jared. So yeah, I like his quirkiness. I think he adds a lot. So when there's not a lot to be shared, he's at least entertaining.
Yep, that's a fact.
First station of the Stanton system. Gone missing in Alpha 320 and replaced without rhyme or reason. Where did it go? What happened to it? Who doesn't want us to know? That's where our team of brilliant researchers and recreationists on the ISC gameplay capture team come in, with a theory not based in science, fact, or anything Todd Pappy would have you believe, but instead what feels right to them in the distorted, reason-askew minds of Will, Dave, and Alex.
It would have been pretty awesome if we could have gathered on the Port Olisar and they just send it to the depths of hell.
Yeah.
If we could just go along for the ride.
Thanks for stopping by.
Now, we make no claims to know what really happened, and we certainly didn't ask anyone that could have told us. Instead, we offer one potential reality for you alone to judge. For unresolved miseries, I'm the person talking to you now. Bye.
He's trying not to smirk.
That's straight face.
Trying not to
That was
smirk
so hard
bad.
for him, I guarantee it. I'm the person talking to you now.
The whole last
Hold
part.
it.
The whole last part there
Hold
was worth watching at least. So yeah, there's no way. Yeah, that would have been sad to miss that. But yeah, all right. So we're gonna go into our final thoughts here. So what do you go ahead, Shadow? You want to start?
I just think it's going to be an asset with the new station. Arena Commander is going to be very exciting as long as it works. The Fury LX, we'll see. That's pretty much all I can say about that. But right now, 319.1 is 100 times more stable. 30K protection did work Friday night with me and Zook. So
It's still working, thank God.
Zook had a boatload of gold. He was on the same server as I was, and it 30K'd on us, and he was like, "Oh my God!"
I had 2.5 million in gold. I was like,
Jeez.
please work, please work.
Right. So, like I say, with 320, until we hear more, keep your expectations low, and hope for the best. Cross your fingers, and enjoy what's out there. I'm good.
Go ahead, Zook.
On the off chance that somebody from CIG is watching, on the off chance that Jared is watching, I really didn't like or appreciate how that latest ISC episode was advertised when you were talking about it, because it was, maybe this is on me, but my impression was this show was going to be about what's happening to Port Olisar. Great, but we didn't find out what's happening to Port Olisar. We found out about a new station.
They did answer
and
that
was
question.
Cool seeing it.
They just didn't answer it the way you wanted it to be answered.
No, we know something's going to happen.
We know it's getting replaced. That's the whole answer.
Right? That's not the whole answer.
Well, that's not what you wanted to know. That's not the part of the answer you wanted.
We're finding out what happens to the slot that Port Olisar is sitting into. We're not finding out what's happening to Port Olisar. And for me, I was a bit salty on that one. It left a bad taste in my mouth.
I don't know.
But other than that, I think the new station looks good. I like it a lot, actually. I'm definitely going to look forward to going. But I came here wanting to know what was happening to Port Olisar, and we're now finding out what's happening to Port Olisar. I'm very excited to learn about it in the future. It's good to see that they have plans or that they have things they want to do with it. But, you know, I felt like it was a bit of false advertising. You know what I mean?
I don't know. I never got the impression, I mean, at least on my end, I never got the impression that that they were like obligated, that like they were going to tell us specifically what was like what they were going to do with the actual station. But I mean, yeah, I don't know. I'm not too disappointed. I mean, we'll find out at some point. So I mean, as I was happy enough to hear that they're not done with Port Olisar and that something will be happening, and there will be some sort of plans for it in the future. Because as long as it's in the game, some way, shape, or form, then I'm pretty happy with it. What do you guys? The last question I do want to ask though, what are you guys hoping? Or what would you like to see them do with Port Olisar? I mean, I know we talked about it as possibly being like a little rest stop somewhere, but is there anything else other than that you wouldn't mind seeing?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, mind if I jump in, Shadow, on this one?
Go ahead.
So the main thing that I would like to see, there to be some kind of community event to help quasi decide that. You know, if they could set it up to be a like the scenario that I was thinking of. You have an event where every hour or so someone is attacking Port Olisar, sitting, right? And at the same time, there's sort of missions that to bring trade cargo to either Grimhex or to some outpost on Daymar, for example.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, it sets it up as the community decides by participating in an action. And if the defense of Port Olisar is defended, let's say the Vandal or pirates are attacking Olisar, if they win, the pirates win more often than not, then Port Olisar would crash into Crusader and forever. Or it would turn into a derelict outpost that's an orbiting Crusader or whatever. Like it would be unrecoverable, right? If the defenders win on net, all servers and all shards, more often than the attackers do, then it becomes okay. Who made more money? The people at which outpost kind of thing made more money? The people at Daymar or the people at say Yellow? And if Yellow wins, then it would be an outpost that's orbiting Yellow, as opposed to it would transition and move over to Yellow, or if Daymar gets the majority of the financial output, then it would go to a station that's orbiting Daymar. And I think that would bring in a lot of activities, both piloters, PvPers, people who want a derelict outpost, people to help the pirates. Right?
I like it.
And I think, and that would be a pretty good if-then statement where you have people who are trading, you have people who are doing combat, people who are for escorting would be having a say in what happens to Olisar. And as far as everyone else is concerned, it's pretty simple. Generally speaking, to keep track of that, we've already seen that they keep track of it for Jumptown. We've already seen that they can keep track of that for these events. So that kind of thing is what I was kind of wanting to have. I'm not married to you have to do this. It could be a lost outpost for all I know.
Mm-hmm.
It could be a crash site on Daymar for all I know. But I want the community to have some say in what's happening, because that would make the universe feel real.
I agree.
Right? So in 3 or 4 years from now, whenever we're playing, we can go to Port Olisar and I can tell the new guys that are playing then that it's here because we participated and did X, Y, or Z.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It was over here, but the player base, we moved it from there to here. And for me, that would make it a lot more special.
It would. I agree.
That's what I would like to see happen. I'm not married to a particular event or outcome. I do have a preference, but I would not want it to be just poof and gone.
I would love for the station to actually have at least a function. Even if it's just like a singular function. I want it to have some sort of purpose somewhere. And I think CitizenCon would be a great time to, because they usually do polls like that where we get to decide something at CitizenCon, whether it's like a new ship or a new like what manufacturer would you want, like that new mining ship that we still haven't heard anything about yet. It'd be great to have, what would you guys like would happen to Port Olisar, and give us like a list of like 4 or 5 different things, and we can do a poll or something like that at CitizenCon. I think that'd be cool. But go ahead, Shadow. What do you think?
I think it should be still in the game, but as an event where we have to take it back from Ninetales. That'd be interesting.
Okay.
But that's pretty much all I got on it. But if they decide to destroy it, they decide to destroy it.
All right. Fair enough.
If they do it,
fair enough.
It better be spectacular. That's all I gotta say.
You know what I think would be great? I think it'd be kind of comical if if they had Port Olisar kind of like lose its trajectory or whatever, and it's just floating randomly in space, and you have to go find it, and it becomes like an ongoing treasure hunt kind of type of thing where, where
like
you never know
Benny
where
Hill.
it's gonna be, but that when that one person spots it, it's like a big deal, and it goes like they go on to the chat like I just found it, and then everybody's got to go find it.
Ooh. So Elite Dangerous has something very similar to that.
Really?
Yeah. Do you remember the Voyager probes? They're like the real life Voyager probes that we sent out.
Yeah.
They're in Elite Dangerous.
Oh, cool. Well, you got to go find them.
It's actually moving. And it's actually moving. It's hard to see.
Yeah.
And it's hard to find. You have to get really close with it. And so essentially what they do is they've like taken the speed in which it's moving, the trajectory in which it's moving, and forwarded it out the 1,000 years or whatever that the game takes place in. And they have to do the calculations as far as where it's supposed to be.
Oh, see,
and
that's
if you get
awesome.
close to it, it will show up as a signal.
Yeah.
And if you go to that signal, you can actually visit the Voyager probe.
That's that's my all-time, I think, top what I would want to happen to Port Olisar now. I think that's on my top.
Yeah, exactly. Something similar to that, where it's just like, oh, it's just it got slung out of orbit, and now it's like heading towards somewhere towards the Halo Belt.
Yeah.
You know, how long has it been? It's been a month and a half, so it should be here or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be cool. That'd be cool because you could. It's its own dynamic, ever changing thing, you know. Phenom says send it to Nyx. Now, one thing that I heard pitched was it being like a.
Wait, he's saying
Xenothreat's
on right now?
No way.
Is it?
That's what Phantom just said.
Oh,
no way.
Well, that's a surprise. They've done that in the past where they just pop it up. Well, that's cool. You guys hopping on that after the stream?
Hell yeah.
Maybe to at least to see if it's stable or not. My God.
Yeah, I might.
Right.
I might go in there.
Right?
Yeah.
But
I think they would have tweeted about that.
Nah, well, they haven't in the past. There has been few times where they just launched it and didn't tell anybody.
Okay.
That's cool.
Got to see the stability.
Yeah. All right. Well, cool. Well, me and Zook are going to CitizenCon, so if you guys end up going, come over and say hi if you see us, or hit us up. And I offered to buy Shadow's ticket. I was hoping he was going. I would have bought your ticket in a heartbeat. But
I know. I got to work.
Yeah, it happens. It happens. But yeah, if you guys are going, definitely come say hi. Tickets are still on sale. The general tickets, at least, are still on sale, so that's cool. Premium tickets are sold out. But yeah, with that, we're gonna go ahead and end the stream. So I appreciate everybody coming in and saying hi and chatting with us. I hope you guys enjoyed, and we will be back. Well, we might be back. I'm not sure yet. For next Sunday at same time, around 9:30ish Pacific time. So yeah, thanks again, everybody.
If Joe's not here, I will be running it, streaming it, so not a worry.
Okay, sounds good. All right, so thanks again, guys, and we'll see you in the next one.
Take care, everybody.
Fly safe, guys. Don't get pirated.